Coming to you from the M&M Exterior Studio in Knoxville, Virginia, this is Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. She talks to people so you don't have to. For now.
Welcome back to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle, the introvert's extrovert. I'm here with my guest, Sara O'Brien. Woohoo!
Hello.
Thank you for coming, Sara.
Thanks for having me.
Sara is an esthetician here. She's located in Manassas, Virginia, and we are connected and through business and whatnot, but my favorite way we connect is through awesome conversation. So thank you.
Thank you. This is a lot of fun. So, yeah.
It's a lot of fun.
Don't know what this is yet, so we're going to get there.
That's awesome. Well, Sara, tell us about you. Let's let everyone figure out who you are.
Well,
That's
always a loaded question. Like, where do you start?
I know. It's the hardest question I ask. I feel like I'm sorry in advance.
Yeah, me right now. We'll start with that. So I am a mom of two. My son is 9 years old as of Tuesday. My daughter Zoe will be 7 on Valentine's Day. She is on the autism spectrum. So there's that fun little aspect to my personality is chasing squirrels is what it feels like most of the time. I've been married it'll be 13 years this year, and we've been in Northern Virginia for just shy of 6 years. So, licensed esthetician, mom, wife, that pretty well sums it up.
Awesome. So you have a full plate, like pretty much everybody
that I know, yeah.
That's great. And we talked before about you have a passion for people. And one of the things I learned about you, which I was not surprised, was that you had a degree in mental health. What was it?
It was psychology and sociology.
There we go.
I was going to go to grad school for counseling after the fact and whatnot. And then I met my husband. He moved me from Missouri to Virginia because he was in the Navy at the time. And going back to school and getting qualified and licensed for counseling after changing states, it was a bit of a thing and overwhelming. And I was kind of done with organized education at that point. A little disillusioned after, taking 6 years to finish a 4-year degree because of all the nonsense that happens at college.
Yeah.
And, I kind of had to switch gears and come up with something new that still let me help people and was travel friendly in case we had to get, restationed someplace else, and kind of fell into aesthetics.
That's awesome. So that's why I was not surprised when we had lunch, because I was like, you are asking me all of the questions. You are showing
it's
me
hard to turn that off.
I love it. I love it. That's why I realized, like, all of my friends and everyone who I gravitate towards in business and life, it's like, you have that little, people talk about things like that special sauce or that special thing. And like, for me, that special thing, I'm always like, oh, you're a person who likes digging
you're
deeper.
You're a caretaker. Yes.
Yes, I love caretakers. I don't know what that says about me. I don't know, but I love it. So
my dad used to joke after I became a mom that I've actually been a mom since I was about 10 years old.
Yeah.
He was like, that was just your personality type. He's like, you find people that need taking care of and then you take care of them. And I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I guess I found the right job satisfaction job for myself.
Yes. So as an esthetician, now this is something that Jeremy, my husband, we had to explain to him what it was. And most women, there's this like idea that spa is very frou-frou or, expensive.
And it can be.
Exactly. So tell me, help me understand with self-care. So, cause we talked, like, you have a passion, as we said, for helping people, and that falls into esthetician. So I thought, okay, there's people that have no idea what you do. There's men who have no interest or care, but can you kind of jump into like, how does it all tie together?
Well, I think for me, the reason why I find it so satisfying is because everybody is self-conscious about something, like whether it's physical appearance or they might be awkward and trip a lot. I don't know. It could be literally anything. There's always something that everybody is self-conscious about. And it's very satisfying to be able to help somebody get past that and feel pretty about it. And sometimes it's as simple as tinting their brows or shaping them up so they look more feminine, more grown up, or whatever the case may be. Like, I have a client that I absolutely adore because she came in and she's in a position where she's actually in a position of authority at her job, but nobody takes her seriously because the poor thing looks like I thought she was still in high school when she walked through my front door.
Oh, yeah.
And so we did a lash lift and tint and a brow design service, which is a brow wax and a brow tint. And it just made her look 10 years older, but not in a bad way. If that, usually that's not a positive, but for her it really was.
Yeah.
And it helped it just helped her feel like she could walk into a meeting and take control of the meeting a little bit better. And it was such a good feeling to see that. So that is kind of quintessential what I love, how I can help people. If you're self-conscious about this, that, or the other, especially if it's something more on the superficial side of things, I probably have a cream for that or, a wax strip for that. It's insta-validation and it's really fun.
What have you found? What do you think women, I mean, I know you have some men clients, but like, what's your insight? So you have a unique set of skills.
Very much so, yeah.
And you're not afraid to use them.
Nope.
But with your counseling heart, what do you feel like people or women in particular struggle with the most? What do you feel like you see that you want to change with people? That's not a physical thing, but the internal thing.
I think in general, women, we always put everybody else first. We don't take care of ourselves the same way that we take care of the other people in our life that we care about. So a lot of times we are mentally burnt out or emotionally burnt out, and we feel this disconnect. And it sounds really shallow to be like, changing the superficial outside can help you feel better about the inside, but it really can. Like, it reflects in, it helps you feel better, it projects out what you want the world to see. And a lot of women are not great at taking care of themselves. And so for that 20-minute or 30-minute appointment that they come in, it lets them take care of them. And I take care of them for that 30-minute time frame. Yeah. And it just helps them feel better. Like, a lot of times it has nothing to do with the unibrow or whatever it might be, or the upper lip that they're really self-conscious about. It's just about being seen and being taken care of by somebody else. Because I feel like we all take on way too much as women. Yeah. And men too in this day and age. I mean, it's just our culture right now is to do more, be more, always strive for the next big level. And that's exhausting. Sometimes you just need to relax and renew.
How do you think and I don't want to go too deep if you don't want to, how do you think your background has played into your current role?
Well, I can tell you that the only reason why I knew what an esthetician was because of my older sister. We were having a conversation when she was still in college and on a fixed income because of her disability. So she was going to school full time and living off of, the checks that she was getting. And she had bought a under eye cream, if I remember correctly. And she had bought 2 of these like really expensive under eye creams. I think she said they were somewhere in the neighborhood of $70, which is a lot if you're on a fixed income. Yeah. But
or even
skincare, man, skincare can be so pricey, which is one of my biggest pet peeves in the industry because it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
It's a marketing tool sometimes. Like sometimes the ingredients really do cost that much, but people automatically assume that if something is more expensive, it's better quality. And that is not always the case.
Yes.
But anyway, back to my sister. She was upset because she had spent basically $140 that she didn't really have to try to fix something that she was self-conscious about. It was her under eyes. And we have in my family genetic tendency to get dark under eye circles. So she was trying to fix that because she's like, I'm not even 30 yet. I shouldn't be dealing with this. And she's like, there should be somebody that you can go to and ask what a product is going to do. Like, is it actually going to do what it's advertised? Is this a gimmick? What is this? And I'm like, you know what? There really should be. And I remember she said that she had asked her dermatologist about it because she had one at the time, and they didn't have any insight for her. And I was like, well, okay, if a dermatologist won't do it, who would?
Yeah.
So I remember she and I also share a hormonal imbalance called polycystic ovarian syndrome. Oh. So without, being too blunt about it,
please be blunt about it. If
we
you're
can
willing.
grow lady beards, like we could have been carnies back in the day.
Yeah, all right, cool.
So I remember.
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
by the way, educating the folks and myself.
The things that we feel self-conscious about. Go figure.
Let's put it out there.
Yeah, let's just air it out. But I looked up electrolysis because at the time, my husband was still active duty military. I had 2 very small children, 2 under the age of 3. And I was looking for a new career because the counseling thing didn't seem like it would really pan out. I didn't want to have to go back to school. I was like, what can I do? So I looked up electrolysis because that was something I'd always been told about to help with the facial hair. And every time I I don't know if I was misspelling it terribly, but it was, Google kept showing me esthetician. I'm like, what the heck is this?
I don't want this.
I don't want that. What is this? And
isn't that like could be some divine intervention?
It really, I felt like it was.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I'm like, okay, this sounds interesting. Like just reading this little blurb about what an esthetician is.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't the type to go to the spa before owning one, I guess. But I went to a local spa that like somebody had given me a gift certificate to get my nails done for Christmas, if I remember right. And I knew that they had estheticians on staff. And I just asked the receptionist if I could talk to one. And she took me back into the treatment room and we chatted about what her day to day was like. And she went into, she nerded out a little bit on skincare and how cosmetic chemistry comes into play. And it's not just about the frou-frou making somebody relax kind of a thing. There's a lot that goes into picking a product for a client. And in a facial, use anywhere from, maybe 10 to 20 products on a client, depending on what it is you're trying to treat.
Yeah.
So you really have to know how products work and how the skin works to best to get the outcome that the client wants.
Ooh, so that triggered your research part of your personality.
Yeah, I was right there for that. And I'm like, okay, so this is really nifty. And she went on to say that the school that she had attended would be the only one that she would recommend. And it was there in Virginia Beach, which is where we were living at the time. And I was like, okay, well, let me stroll on up into this school. So within a 2-week time frame, I went from not having any idea what an esthetician was to being enrolled in the nighttime full-time program.
Gosh.
And it only happened because one girl had signed up, like the evening classes were full, and that was the only way I was going to be able to make it work. And somebody dropped out. So,
wow.
Yeah,
that's a great story.
That's how I ended up in what I do.
That's
I feel like I
awesome.
fell into it, but I feel like it was meant to be.
It was definitely meant to be. That's awesome and inspiring.
Yeah, I loved it. Sometimes, Google can really help you.
Yeah. Well, that reminds me, Christina Ammerman shared how she got into the massage therapy and how like it was just in a paper and just kind of like, she just saw it and knew. And so I think that's really cool.
Yeah, sometimes you're just put where you're supposed to be, I think.
Well, I think it's funny because like, I remember before when my kids were getting older and I kind of knew I wanted to do something when they got to school. And one of my friends said, the right thing will come along. And it's like, she's telling me that. And because I'm in a place where I didn't see it yet, it's like, how do you know? How do you know that's going to happen? And then sure enough, like things fell into place and had my, my job situation not fallen into place, I wouldn't be sitting here right now. So it's just like, now you know why people, when they go through stuff and they tell you like, it will work out. And you're like, how do you know? It's like, because they've walked through it. And so
just wait long enough and eventually it'll work out the way it's supposed to.
Yes.
And if it doesn't,
Don't fight it.
Yeah, well, maybe fight it depending on what's going on.
True. Yeah.
Because change is important, but,
yeah.
Depending on what it is, sometimes you have to fight for what you want. And because I have to admit, my husband, when I told him that I was enrolling in full-time school in the evening from 5 to 10 p.m., he was not thrilled.
Yes, that's a good point to bring up.
Looking back now, he was not happy about it, but now he's very happy for me because we're able to have the lifestyle that we have because I fought for it. But and I'm not saying that he told me not to do it, but we had, let's see, Liam was 2.5, Zoe was maybe 6 months old.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So like they were small,
and so he's working all day, then he's coming home and yeah, it's a lot.
He would actually have to meet me in the parking lot at school because his base was clear across town. So I would drive to my school, he would meet me there, we would switch car seats with the kids, and then I would go to school until 10 o'clock at night.
So that's a great point though, that like, okay, so it seems like it's from my perspective, it's totally sounds like divine intervention. It worked, but I love that you talked about that it's not easy though. And you had to push through.
Yeah, I knew it was the right thing for me to do at the time.
I do think things fall into place. But if there is that tension or that struggle, it doesn't automatically mean that it's not meant to be.
Exactly. No, I think that if you know that that's where you're supposed to go, fight for it with everything you have, because there's like, I had 2 small kids at home, and in my husband's mind, complete gear shift, me going to school, taking out a little bit more in student loans to cover the cost for that when he was already working full time, it seemed like maybe this isn't the time. Like he wasn't saying don't do it. He was maybe like, don't do it right now.
Yes.
And like I said, I'm very glad that I did because he ended up getting out of the military that following summer. And then we moved here, and like I would be starting now if we went for the convenient time factor.
Yes.
So
never the right time.
No,
never the right.
The thing.
It never feels like it. It rarely feels like the right time.
Exactly. It's always going to be like change is always slightly uncomfortable, and it's always something that you kind of have to push through because you know that it's the right thing. You just have to get through the ick to get to the good.
Yes.
And
You have to go through the ick to get through the good.
Yeah.
See, now I can do a say that again.
Shannon McGurk.
Yes, Shannon McGurk on his episode, he talked about having to go to the cistern to find the things you need. Like
Sometimes.
go to the dark places. And go through the shit. It's kind of the
you
way
have to go
I say
through the
it.
tunnel to get to the light, so to
Yes,
speak. And
yes.
It's worth it. It's worth it when you know it's the right thing. Because I think the one thing that I hear a lot from my clients is that, like I said, I love the stories that I get from my clients so much because I might only see them for 20 minutes every month, but they really do let me in because
When you go personal quick.
We go pretty personal pretty quick.
When you physically go personal, but it's true though, when you physically go personal, it makes it easier to emotionally go.
So they tell me about how their family might not be encouraging of something that they're trying to pursue or whatnot. And I feel like people might say things coming from love, like, hey, maybe you should be more conservative. Maybe you should go big.
Yeah.
Make the big life change if you need to. If you're not happy, it doesn't have to make sense to anybody other than you. So that's partly why, like, with some of the services that I do in waxing, it might seem like there might be a lot of social ideas about what it is that I do with waxing, but it doesn't have to make sense to anybody other than yourself. And if it does make sense to you, then don't let anybody talk you out of it. Because they might mean well, but they're going off of their own set of experiences and knowledge and fears. And if you let them talk you out of the thing that you know you're going to love, you need to do it.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm very stubborn. So when my husband said, I don't think this is the right time, I'm like, no, this is happening now.
This is happening.
Which he doesn't always love about me, but he usually loves the end result when we get through the awkward time or the difficult time.
So how did you get through it then? So it was probably
Day
rough
by day.
because that age of kids is rough.
It was extremely rough. For a multitude of reasons. So the longer he stayed in, the more stressed he got. I mean, military life in general can be extremely stressful. Yeah. And he did well, like in his career. I don't want to make it sound like he was struggling mentally or whatnot, because he wasn't, but it's super stressful. Yeah. And having small kids is extremely stressful, even with me staying home, like, that's a whole other set of stresses, because if you're the type of person that likes taking care of people, you would think motherhood would be super gratifying. To me, I found it so draining at that stage because I'm like, I don't even know what you want right now. This tiny thing is yelling at me and I don't know why.
Oh my gosh. Jeremy used to come home from work because I had 2 under 2. Yeah. And I would say, I spend all day with people, 2 humans that cannot communicate with their words. Yeah. If you do not communicate with your words, I got nothing for you. Yeah. I can't do it.
It's like trying to figure out, playing whack-a-mole.
Yes.
And,
so yes.
Well, stressful. Not physically, but, mentally. And
for sure.
So yeah, it was just very, like, I thought maybe I wanted to do the stay-at-home mom thing because family was something I'd always wanted. And like, let's do this. And then I was there and I was in it and I was like, oh, what did I do?
Help me.
Yeah. So I think being self-aware and being honest with yourself when you know something may or may not work for you, that's okay.
Yeah. And trying it, too.
Yeah,
Not being afraid to fail. I think that's the other thing.
And I don't see it as a failure. I was able to spend the first, let's see.
Oh, I meant with the business. No, definitely not with your motherhood. No.
But I spent the first 4 years home with Liam and the first not quite full year home with Zoe. Yeah. And I'm so grateful that I had that time with them. Like, I don't regret it one bit, but I also am very happy that I made the changes that I did.
Yeah. And I think, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I feel like I'm a better mom now than I was then because I feel more, not completed, but I feel more, I don't even know what the words are. I feel better about myself now than I did at that stage in my life. Yeah. So I know that I'm able to be a better mother.
Yes. That's what I've always said is that, figuring out what helps you be the best you can be so that you can serve others. If we're called to a life of service, if you feel that, like, then, I feel like we were made to be in community together. We were made to be there for each other. And so, however that ends up looking in your life, you know, so that, I mean, it sounds cliche, but it's like for you to be the best you.
Yeah.
So.
No, I mean, in order for you to get the most out of your life, you have to be able to be self-aware enough to go like, I need something different, or I need something more, or, you know, or less. Sometimes you take on too much.
Why do you think people are afraid to say the things they want and need?
I think that we've been, well, as women anyway, I can't say with men, I feel like we've been taught that self-care or wanting things for ourselves is kind of a negative. We're supposed to be the caretakers. Like that was what I struggled with when I was a younger person.
Yeah.
Admitting what I needed from my friends or family and things of that nature was a difficult thing because I was the one who always did the caretaking. So if you're the caretaker, who takes care of you?
Yes.
So in the earlier years in my marriage, there was times where my husband was like, I don't understand. Why are you upset? And it was because I was like, why aren't you just taking care of this? And I got to the point where I was like, oh, he's willing. I just have to be like, hey, I need this. And then no issue. And then that cleared up so much trouble in my happiness.
So what made it hard? So correct me if I'm wrong. I would guess that you don't have a problem with people telling you what they need.
Not at all.
Exactly.
Yeah, so I don't know why it was a thing for me to verbalize it.
Why? But that's true for so many people. Because so many people want to help and love and care for people. It's kind of, I saw the quote, it's like, check on your strong friends because they're struggling.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the marriage, you said you talked about he wasn't doing, you know, like you needed help with things and you couldn't verbalize it. What helped you get to the point of verbalizing it? Was it just
him telling me to? Yeah. Like, I would literally get so stressed out and he's like, what's wrong? What's going on? Like, I don't understand. And so I would say, you know, I'm super overwhelmed between laundry, dishes, kids, clothing, life, groceries. Like, there's just so many things to keep track of that I'm overwhelmed. And he's like, well, what can I take off your plate? Oh, you're willing? I figured you would just do it if you were willing to. Like, you can't expect people to read your mind, I guess is the long and the short of it. And I was expecting him to read my mind because I am the anticipating helper. Yeah. Like, I'll look at something and that's what I do naturally.
Oh, yeah.
So before it becomes a thing that is apparent to the person that I'm trying to take care of, I will try to help them, which can also be its own set of problems.
Well, yeah, because then, yeah, exactly. And then you assume that other people think the same way you think.
And they don't. I overanalyze everything like 5 times at least, usually. So, and I don't expect people to be as crazy as I am.
That is good. So when you are with clients, because you're not a counselor, but you have the background of it because you went to school for that. How do you listen to people, but without going too much there?
Body language, facial expressions, those are the 2 major ones. So a lot of times people they'll have a thought or they will not say something. It's usually where people don't say something that you know that there's something that needs to be said. And so if you are looking at somebody's face and you can usually see, okay, there's something more to this. Like, what is this? Or, I don't know. That's really the best way I can think of. You just get good at reading people after doing it for years.
Yeah.
So it's something that I feel like I'm fairly good at this point. I can tell when there's something that someone's not saying. So with my friends in particular, like they might be saying all of the right things, but the face doesn't quite match the words. And you're like, hey, friend, poke. What's going on here?
So it's funny you said that because I've talked on other episodes about like leaning into the cracks, you know, like when someone will give you that crack and being willing to lean into that.
Yeah. And it's sometimes tricky too to not do that as my personality type.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Yeah. Like how do you, because with what you do, it is a very intimate field, but people aren't coming to you for counseling. They're coming to you for,
some of them I feel like they do.
Oh, exactly.
I'm okay with that.
Exactly. So yeah, how do you, kind of not play the game's the wrong word, but that's kind of what I'm visualizing.
I get that.
Because that's a life skill you have. You have this ability to see people, but you have that boundary of, okay, well,
I can't do certain things. Yeah. No, I approach it the same way as like I would any friend. Like I think of my clients in a lot of ways as my friends. So if there's someone that I know really well, like some of my clients I've had for 5-6 years now, and I see them every 3 to 4 weeks, sometimes more often.
That's more than you see your friends.
Some
like
of
when
them,
you're when you're an adult, you know.
I see my friend Ashley, who's over in Maryland, maybe like once every quarter, and you get to know people's mannerisms, and you can tell when something's off. At least if that's something that you pay attention to, because there's some folks that are, bless their hearts, completely oblivious to that sort of nonverbal communication. But if it's something that you've always paid attention to for whatever reason, then you can ask them, like, hey, is this okay? And if they say no and they want to talk about it, then you give them a safe place to do that. But if they're like, I'm okay, then you just leave it alone.
Yeah.
Because not everybody wants to talk about things. That doesn't always make things better. Sometimes talking about things can make it more of a thing than it was.
Ooh,
so by pushing that door open, you're kind of kicking somebody's safe house down.
Yeah. But it's nice you acknowledge it, though. Yeah. I think that's a great point that you bring up, though, because that's what I've tried to kind of talk about in the past, is that people show us the cracks and it's up to us to lean into it. But I'm glad you expanded on that, is that, like, I think that sometimes people just want to be acknowledged. Like, thank you for noticing that I'm off.
Yeah.
I can't talk about it, or I don't want to talk about it, but thank you for noticing.
Thank you for caring enough to ask.
Yeah. I love that.
And a lot of times people, it just makes them feel better to know that somebody gave a damn.
Yes.
You know, like, I'm the type of person that whenever I'm dealing with anything super stressful or heartbreaking or whatnot, I internalize until I know exactly it is how I am about it. And then I'm okay to talk about it. But going through it, don't talk to me about it. Let me figure out how I feel about it until I, like, come forward and I'm like, hey, friend, I need to talk to somebody about this. Can you help me make sure that I'm not being, like, completely psychotic about whatever it is, or I'm not talking myself into being mad about a situation that I should not be mad about, you know, that sort of thing. But we all need those kind of friends that are good sounding boards. But there's something really awesome about having that friend that can come over and just, like, binge watch Netflix with you when you're in a bad mood and just exist in the same room with you, and it's okay.
Oh, I love that. Exist in the same room with you. Because I say, like, sit in the ashes, but that makes, it's like, if you don't want to go that deep, just.
Well, one of my favorite, like, it's so silly, but Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh, there's that little cartoon where they just, what is it? Winnie and Piglet just sit with Eeyore because he's like, I know I'm not much fun to be around. That's why I didn't come to whatever little tea party it was or whatnot. And they're like, it's okay that you're this way. We just like being near you. And it's like, oh my gosh, they just accept him for him. They're not trying to fix him. They're just okay with him being as he is, and they want to be near him. So sometimes you have to be that for your friend, or be okay with your friend being that for you.
That's so good. That's so good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for sharing that. See, I just feel like this is what I love, is that with all of our life experience, and whether it's our jobs or our life, it's like, dang, I just love hearing people's insight. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for that.
I have a very unique insight into women in general, which I think is, I wasn't expecting it, I guess is the best way to put it. But
well, that's the thing. Like, you spend so much time with people. It's like you, without realizing it, you're doing research. And you kind of get to see that. So
yeah, it makes it fun. It's never boring. My job is never boring, which I absolutely love.
That is awesome. Well, thank you for coming today and sharing. And I can't wait for the after show. I think we'll dive more into some of the specifics of what you do, because I know people are probably curious about that.
Sure.
So, but thank you so much. Appreciate you, Sarah. And
thanks for having me.
And that's a wrap for now.
Thanks for listening to Flushing It Out with Samantha Spittle. Music provided by twinmusicom.org. Song titled Night at the Dance Hall. Sound editing by me, Jeremy Spittle. A special thanks to our studio sponsor, M&M Exteriors. Visit their website at mmexteriors.com for all of your roofing, siding, and gutter needs in the Northern Virginia area. Visit our website at flushingitout.com and be sure to subscribe. This has been a Spitfire production.
That was the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Don't forget to check out the after show on the Full Flush bonus episode, where Samantha and I continue the conversation with our guest. You can find the Full Flush episode right here on Flushing It Out every Friday.